The night was gloomy and the city was plunged into a deep sleep. Only the small fireflies of the street lamps broke the darkness. Anna, an ordinary office clerk who had always been quiet and reserved, had recently begun to behave strangely. Her colleagues noticed that she was disappearing into her thoughts more and more often, gazing into the sky as if looking for something. One cloudy night, where clouds like a curtain hid the stars, Anna decided to go to the roof of the building where her office was located. She used her access and climbed to the top of the building in silence. There, in total darkness, she saw something strange, a glowing object that moved smoothly across the sky. A UFO? Yes, that's exactly what came to her mind. She watched as the object accelerated and decelerated its speed while emitting a dim light, creating ghostly reflections on the clouds. This sight made Anna think that she was not alone in the universe, that somewhere out there in space there might be unknown forces lurking. Upon returning to work the next day, Anna began to avoid contact with her colleagues, completely immersed in her mysterious musings. She began visiting strange places, spending nights studying mysterious phenomena. Colleagues began to laugh at her oddities and take her for a lunatic. But one day something changed. Anna returned from a long absence with a new vision and a mystical confidence. She claimed to have contacted an alien intelligence that revealed to her the secrets of the universe. Her colleagues, who had previously thought she was just weird, now began to succumb to panic. Anna, her gaze became cold and impenetrable, as if she had acquired some sort of higher power. However, instead of leaving her job, Anna decided to take revenge on her colleagues. She began to reveal their secret fears by being exactly what they feared. Her colleagues became victims of their own nightmares, remaining powerless before this mysterious force. And so, after some time had passed, an atmosphere of fear and paranoia took over the office. Colleagues started rumors that Anna had supernatural powers and that it was best to avoid her. They began to feel that something dark and unknowable was lurking around them. Anna seems to have found her path of revenge and left the office, leaving her colleagues in a state of constant fear and anxiety. Her story became a legend, and it is still said that sometimes, in the darkness of the night, you can hear the whisper of her name, and the shadow of her figure glides across the rooftops of the city. She became a shadow, taking revenge on all those who dared to laugh at her when she was only trying to understand the mysteries of the universe. The paranormal events in the office were only increasing. Rumors about Anna spread like an avalanche, and it seems that her presence remained in the room even after she left. Colleagues who had previously been convinced that it was just fiction began to encounter strange phenomena. Doors slamming shut by themselves, computers starting up and shutting down for no apparent reason, and sometimes a ghostly figure could be seen in the shadows. One day, when the office was in darkness, with only the pale glowing computer screens illuminating the workstations, something strange happened. The colleagues heard a quiet but distinct whisper filling the room, "You will not escape what you deserve." Fear gripped them and they decided to conduct a paranormal investigation. The office began having strange seances and trying to summon spirits. But instead of getting answers, they encountered increasingly mysterious and threatening events. Files were disappearing and mysterious messages were appearing on their desktops. One colleague, who decided to conduct his own investigation, began to follow the actions of the others. It seemed to him that someone invisible was watching their every move. He began to suspect that Anna may have permanently remained in her immortal state and was now taking revenge on them from the shadows. However, the deeper they dug, the more they realized that they weren't just facing a demented colleague, but something more powerful and sinister. The entity that had awakened in the office seemed to feed on the fear of its victims. The story of the mysterious girl and the vengeful spirit became a real nightmare for the office workers, and they realized that only by uniting together could they solve the mysteries and survive in the sinister atmosphere. Quiet vows ring out in the office that they will search for answers and uncover the mystery of what happened to Anna and why she is now coming back for revenge. The next stage of the investigation forced the colleagues to reconsider their views on the supernatural. They turned to paranormal experts, held seances trying to establish a connection with spirits, and even invited mediums. However, the answers were murky, and the mystery seemed to grow deeper. At this time, more frequent and unexplained phenomena began to occur in the office. Colleagues began to see ghosts in mirrors, hear footsteps in empty corridors, and shadows took on menacing shapes. Some claimed that Anna was just a tool, but in fact something much more powerful and sinister was in the office. The clue turned out to be closely tied to the office's past. It seems the building was built on the site where a tragic event had once taken place. Anna's colleagues learned that a girl named Elizabeth, who worked here decades ago, had suddenly disappeared without a trace. Her disappearance has remained an unsolved mystery, and her soul seems to have returned, demanding justice. Elizabeth died miserably due to intrigue and betrayal, and her soul was left to wander in search of answers. When Anna began investigating supernatural phenomena, Elizabeth sensed an opportunity to finally expose her abusers. She used Anna as her instrument of revenge, absorbing the girl into her world of mystery and uncertainty. The colleagues now realized that in order to put an end to this nightmare, they needed to unravel Elizabeth's story, revealing all her dark corners. They began researching details of the office's past, talking to former employees, and digging through old archives. But the deeper they dug, the closer they came to realizing that Elizabeth wasn't the only suffering soul in the place. Other lost souls were also searching for their story, and each brought with them their own trail of pain and suffering. They began to paint a bleak picture of a past that is forgotten by the world, but lives on in the souls of those who remain in the shadows. Thus, Anna's colleagues were confronted with dark secrets steeped in supernatural interconnections. The question of whether they could unravel these mysteries and free not only Anna, but also the souls of the other forgotten ones, remained open, like a page of a mystical chronicle in which lurks a truth that has no form or time. In the course of their research, the colleagues discovered Elizabeth's old diary, which had been carefully hidden in a forgotten drawer in an old office. The diary revealed the tragic story of her life and the mystery of her disappearance. Elizabeth was in love with her colleague, John, who was already married. She and John dated in secret until one day it was discovered that she was pregnant. When John's wife found out about the betrayal, she caused a scandal that ruined their lives. John, in fear of exposure, betrayed Elizabeth, rejected her, and refused to acknowledge their child. Eventually, overwhelmed by shame and pain, Elizabeth decided to take her own life. The colleagues realized that they were not only facing a vengeful soul, but also a force that demanded justice for injustices committed in the past. They realized that by unraveling the secrets of each soul, they would be able to free not only themselves, but also those who had been prisoners of their past for years. Thus began a challenging and dangerous mission to uncover the vanished stories of all the souls forgotten in the shadows of the past. As the colleagues got closer to solving each case, they felt the dark energy waning and the sinister manifestations in the office diminishing. However, they also realized that in uncovering the dark secrets of the past, they could be facing something beyond their strength and understanding. With each step, the colleagues delved into the darkness of the past, uncovering forgotten and mysterious stories. They encountered souls left unsettled by betrayal, love and secrets, and each new exposure brought with it a mixture of fear and regret. Now their task was not just to end the curse, but to find a way to reconcile the souls with their own past and send them to rest. So continued this mystical saga in which past and present intertwined, and the colleagues fought not only for their own fate, but also for the fate of those who remained in the shadows of forgotten stories. During their investigation, the colleagues discovered that the office's past hid even darker secrets, and they were drawn into a maze of mystery and betrayal. They began to realize that not all souls were ready for a world of peace and quiet. Some held on to their secrets and fears, preferring to remain in the shadows and not reveal their stories. Entities that were unwilling to reveal themselves began to resist investigation, creating increasingly difficult traps for their colleagues. Objects began to move on their own, shadows took the forms of threats, and an atmosphere of tension hung in the air. The colleagues realized that the dark forces guarding the secrets of the office had no intention of giving up. Internal conflicts within the group only intensified. Some members refused to believe in supernatural forces and believed that all mysterious phenomena could be explained rationally. Other team members began to turn more and more to mystical practices in an attempt to call the disappeared souls to repentance. In this darkness of mystery and mystical influences, the colleagues felt that the between worlds had become thinner, and the boundary between reality and the beyond was blurring. They found themselves at the center of a collision of two dimensions, where every action they took had repercussions in both worlds. However, even in this mystical chaos, the colleagues continued their search for the truth. They discovered an ancient artifact that they guessed was linked to the office's past and contained powers that could solve mysteries. It was a key that could open doors to the past and shed light on the darkness, but perhaps also summon powers that would be better left undisturbed. And now, with this artifact in hand, the colleagues stood on the edge of light and darkness, trying to find answers and justice for all the forgotten souls whose mysteries continued to plague the office and its inhabitants. In possession of an ancient artifact, the colleagues embarked on their mystical mission with new possibilities. The artifact seemed to have the power to penetrate mysterious dimensions and detect shadows of the past. However, with each use, its influence had increasingly irreversible effects, causing energy flows that intertwined with the mystical forces of the office. The colleagues faced new challenges and trials, their own selves becoming the focus of dark forces, and each step brought them more questions. They realized that the artifact brings not only light but also darkness, and the solution to each mystery brought with it a new whirlwind of mysterious events. As they traveled, they met souls eager for their help and release, and those that tried to evade their secrets. Time and space seemed to conceal untold stories, each requiring unraveling. However, the further the colleagues progressed, the more they felt the lines between light and darkness, souls and ghosts, blurring. The artifact seemed to have found a will of its own, and its influence began to permeate the researchers themselves. It was becoming a source of their power, but also a threat to their minds and souls. Meanwhile, the office was becoming an arena where two worlds merged. The mystical forces were becoming more and more tangible, and the colleagues realized that their mission would lead to a solution not only to past mysteries, but to the fate of the office itself. They faced a choice. Continue their mystical investigation and solve the mysteries, or stop before they awaken something far more powerful and irreversible. As the colleagues continued their research with the artifact, they noticed that at times the office became a portal between different dimensions. Mysterious forces intertwined within their own selves, and they began to see memories not only of each other, but even of old co-workers whose souls were still trapped in the past. With each discovery of the secret of the artifact, they encountered new visions and apparitions reflecting the past and present. The office was turning into a mystical space where the walls between reality and the otherworldly were getting thinner and thinner. Colleagues absorbed in research felt that the secret powers of the office interacted with their personal fears and dark sides. Each step brought new challenges, and the mystical experience became an inseparable part of their own destinies. Meanwhile, strange events continued to happen in the office. Objects began to move on their own, and the walls seemed to breathe life. Visions of the past were creeping into their reality, and the colleagues realized that their investigation was not only awakening mysteries, but changing the nature of the office itself. They encountered flickers of light and darkness, where each door opened by an artifact could lead to new dimensions and insights into the past. However, they carried not only the light of wisdom, but also the darkness of their own fears and doubts. So their strange and mystical exploration continued as they faced each mystery as a part of themselves, in a struggle to uncover truths and save not only forgotten souls, but also themselves. In the depths of mystical research, colleagues began to notice that the artifact seemed to respond to the emotional state of each researcher. It became more and more demanding and greedy for the energy of their feelings. The forces of the office's past seemed to awaken to life and permeate each of them, trying to free themselves from their imprisonment. The colleagues felt themselves becoming part of the mystical energy, their thoughts merging with the souls of the office's past inhabitants. Shadows of past and present wove invisible threads of connection, and each member of the group faced their own soul demons. The artifact, like an awakened spirit, interacted with their deepest fears and secret desires. The visions became more and more intense. The researchers saw not only the office's past, but their own destinies as well. The lines between what was, what is, and what will be began to merge into a single chaos. In this mystical whirlwind, colleagues realized that they were becoming not only witnesses to the past, but actors in a great mystical drama. They felt the forces of the past influencing their decisions and actions, and every choice seemed momentous. Meanwhile, darkness and light, past and present, became less and less distinguishable. The artifact, no longer just a tool but a being of its own will, guided the explorers through time gates where they encountered reflections of their own choices and decisions. The research became more and more in-depth, and the mystical influences in the office more and more out of control. The only question was what they would stumble upon next, and what mysteries, fears and revelations their path would lead them to. With each use of the artifact, its effect on the colleagues became deeper and more mysterious. Visions of the office's past began to merge with their own memories, and the boundary between what was reality and what was ghosts of the past dissolved. Colleagues were discovering that the artifact seemed to read their souls, triggering memories they were trying to forget. Emotions long buried in the depths of their heart surfaced, creating new vortexes of mystical energy. The artifact became not only a key to the secrets of the past, but also a reflection of themselves. More and more colleagues found themselves entangled in the web of their own fears and desires. They saw themselves in different times, faced alternate versions of their lives, and struggled with shadows that stretched from the past. Questions arose about what a person's true nature is, and whether someone is capable of self-questioning when faced with their darkest secrets. The office, as if awakened to life, reacted to the emotional state of its colleagues. Mysterious forces attracted by the artifact manifested in visions of time and space splitting, creating portals between different dimensions. In this mystical chaos, where past and future intertwined, the colleagues realized that they were becoming part of the same fabric of time as the past occupants of the office. Now that the colleagues were standing on the edge of a mystical reality, new questions about the meaning of their own destinies were opening up before them. The artifact seemed to lead them not only to unravel the mysteries of the office's past, but also to understand how they themselves were connected to this mystical cycle. As they continued on their strange journey, new doors of mystical discovery opened to the colleagues, and they realized that the answers to their questions led deeper into themselves. From the moment the colleagues stepped into this mystical labyrinth, the artifact began to reveal its real essence. Not only did it read thoughts and emotions, but it became a kind of conduit between worlds. With each use of it, the colleagues felt themselves becoming part of a larger system of mystical energy stretching across time dimensions. But the deeper they penetrated this mystical labyrinth, the more they realized that each of them was responsible for the shadows of the past they were causing. The artifact became a mirror in which they saw not only the secrets of the office, but also their own mental storms and clashes. Past and future became non-linear, and colleagues felt that every choice they made left an imprint not only in the present, but also in the past. At times, when the artifact illuminated new aspects of their lives, colleagues saw opportunities to change their destiny, but also the